I'd like to call the Mahoney County Board of Elections regular meeting on Tuesday, January 3rd at 4 o'clock in the boardroom of Mahoney County Board of Election offices at 345 Oak Hill Avenue, Youngstown, Ohio, to order. Would the director call the roll,
Ms.
please?
Calpesta?
Yes, here present.
Attorney Beatrice?
Here.
Ms. Barger?
Here.
Mr. Orange? Here.
Would the vice chairman now lead us in the pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we can have a moment of silence for our nation. Chair will now recognize a motion to approve the minutes of the December 7th, and I think, was it an adjourned meeting that we re-adjourned on the 13th, or was it two separate meetings?
Adjourned, we re-adjourned.
Okay.
Yeah.
The adjourned regular board meetings. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion made by Sandra Barger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joyce Calpesta. Is there any discussion? Would the director call the roll, please?
Ms. Calpesta?
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice?
Yes.
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Orange? Yes.
The chair will now accept the motion to approve the bills of accounts and payments for August, November, and December of 2022. If I could just have a moment to look at those, please.
Can I ask a question about the cable service? What was
Where is that? I'm sure
cable
it's here.
service was like a Charter Communications Holding? Is it, the cable's not paid for by the whole county? Okay,
No.
that's just a question.
You wish.
I'm assuming the security election is the deputies that we hired? Is that what that is?
Yes, those are our daily deputies, those 5 listed there are the ones that come here every day.
And do we have a separate contract with the sheriff on that?
No. The deputies work our job as a side job, and so they come here as a side job, so
But
we
we
don't
have
pay
a
their health
contract.
insurance.
You have a contract that you signed with Kathy. You've never signed a contract? I've always signed a contract.
I worked with the prosecutor's office and Audrey Tillis and with the sheriff's department, so that it's not a contract, it's a side job. So we've been doing this now since October 4th, we've never been unmanned. It hasn't been a problem, and it was $20,000 cheaper to do it this way.
Have we gone a whole year doing it this way?
October 4th we started.
So we don't, you mean,
How could it be cheaper? Because you're paying a salary under the contract.
Because we're
And
not
we were
paying for
paying-
health insurance or any of that. It's a side job for them. It's like they would go when they work a wedding. It's a side job.
But we didn't pay for their health insurance. They were contracted under the sheriff's department and they were,
We went up in the last year, how we paid our full salary plus benefits in the last year.
but that wasn't the contract we signed with them.
It changes here because of shortage of deputies.
Oh, well,
They
that,
didn't
I
wanna renew.
understand
Yeah,
that.
they didn't want to renew because they were short deputies. They can't-
And this gave them the option also. We couldn't have one full-time deputy because they didn't have enough deputies. So the deputies that come here are working above and beyond their 40 hours. They work for the sheriff's department and they come here as a side job on their day off.
Well, some of them are doing very well.
Yes, they are. They pay. Those deputies work hard. They do.
have we, since we, some, my understanding is, we had them under contract and now we're doing as a side gig. Have you compared, say, October of this 2022 to October of 2021 when we had a contract?
No, we can break that down because it was just take their annual salary plus, and it was, when it wasn't side jobs, it was a bid job, and we were getting the most expensive deputies.
Right.
Because it was a job that the senior employees, senior.
No, I understand it can save us money, but let's make sure it is saving
I'll
us money.
broken down by category.
Yeah.
How many deputies do we have? Just one a day?
Yeah. Mm.
I mean, it might be
It
that
costs
it's,
$75,000 a year. That's the cost
What? $75,000 a year?
for security and to secure our
Wasn't it
metal
only
detector.
43,000 when I signed the contract?
We'll have the comparison by February.
Okay.
Well, the 75 might include election night too.
No,
Does-
it does not.
Does not?
No, it does not.
Can someone work on that for us?
I can do that.
Just so I mean,
We should have the contract, the old contract that we signed with, that I signed with Kathy. We should have that somewhere in this office, so you could compare.
But we
I mean, if
did
it's
not get a
cheaper-
contract.
what?
Pardon me?
They did not have enough manpower to give us
Right,
their own
I
deputy
understand
and
that.
have a contract.
Now, let me ask you a question then. You're going to have the security at the door. Are we still gonna need a full-time deputy even though we have them out front? Even though there's 2 deputies out front,
That full-time deputy.
like Earl Neff?
Right, but they're working for all different entities. The deputy that we have works specifically for us
At the second desk.
at the second desk. And remember, they're manning our door. When that door is locked, they swipe people in and out. There's cameras right there. So our deputy's there regardless of whatever else is going on within Oak Hill.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying. I think it behooves us to provide security at the most cost-effective price for the taxpayers. And that might include even a private security firm
Correct.
that have licensed, guards that can carry sidearms, like they do at the federal court and like they do at the municipal court, okay? And so why don't one of you, I'd like a motion that someone take a look at, entering into a yearly contract, paying deputies on the side or hiring a private security firm that provides armed guards, which is the most cost-effective for us.
And which is
Can I-
the most safe, because this was approved ahead of time for our budget. This is in our budget for the upcoming year.
Right.
And we have absolutely had the best service you could possibly have from October 4th to
But
today.
if you're going to have security at the door, and all they have to do is swipe in, then I think it would behoove us to look at a private company, because actually you're not going to be doing anything, because you're gonna have a swipe in. So nobody's gonna get into this office who isn't cleared out front.
Yeah, but someone could come around. I mean,
I have to say, that's not all they do. They're very, very vigilant with us, and because we have Earl out there, because they have the gentleman in titles, and because we added the metal detector, we added that.
I know.
That added more work out front. And the 3, now there's only gonna be 2, because as I understand it, they took one out for the bid. So there's only gonna be 2 deputies out there all the time, and you need 2 for the metal detector. So they take turns covering each other. They take turns covering each other when they go to the restroom, go to lunch.
But doesn't the
take
building
nap.
have deputies? Doesn't the building have deputies?
yeah, what she's saying is.
I know what she's saying, but the building
I'm
also
saying that
has
they worked it
deputies
out
that
with
work
us the
there.
best way they possibly could, and we want to be very careful how we approach it in the future, because we actually have unionized people working with people on side jobs.
And all I'm saying is, let's look at all of our options that are on the table, okay, and see what is the best. I think that if we can save money and have apples to apples, that's the way to go. If we can't, but we should look at the issue. I just don't see
Can
what.
we wait to see what Tom comes up for the
Yes.
next meeting
Yeah.
and see what we,
And let's not move on
compare
it until we see.
what this year
That's what I'm
was
saying.
compared to the year before? Because that's what he's
I
gonna
mean-
do, correct? And I understand they don't have the
I know
deputies
what the deputies
to
do.
give us,
Correct, they don't have a full-time deputy here
Right.
anymore.
And they would probably be happier if they had a deputy back. Well, of course, they're working part-time, so.
right, they're doing
Yeah.
that
This
on
way,
their
we
own.
didn't short them on their man hours,
Correct.
because this is, people could
Right,
come.
they could come and work. I understand the concept, I'm just saying it's a lot of money. I mean, our employees don't get $75,000 a year.
Right, but if you think of it this way, you're actually paying for the security, not the
Correct.
person. You're not paying one person $75,000 a year. You're not giving somebody a job. You're actually paying for the safety
Well,
of your
we're paying
staff.
one person 1,700, how many, $1,225.
That's for 2 weeks. That's
Right.
for 2 weeks. And that's
I
a
don't get
retired,
$500 a week.
that's a retired reservist who comes in and he does the bulk of the hours.
I'm just saying it's a lot of money, it's a lot of money when our own employees don't make that kind of money.
Well, I understand that, Joyce. and
I would also say that in light of all the current circumstances in life right now with shootings and things, they're here to take a bullet for us if somebody else comes in this building.
I
and does
definitely think
harm.
we need security.
So I think
the whole
paying them that wage is commiserate with what we're asking them to
I'm not
do.
against security, I'm just saying, you
Well,
know,
Tom will look into
Yeah,
it.
let Tom
And-
present it
and
next
present it
time,
next
to take a
meeting.
look at
right,
it.
let's look at it and
Because they don't have a full-time deputy for us.
Can I ask a question about the cell phones? Who has county cell phones?
we have, go ahead, Melissa. We have cell phones that we use during, out in the field on election day. These are cell phones that go to the,
So no one has a county or a board of election actual
I
cell
think
phone?
Chris has one.
Chris, Tom, and I, remember you
Yeah.
asked Chris, Tom and I to get one last year, and we
Right.
got cell phones. Chris has one, but the bulk of what you're seeing on the bill there is the ones that we own all the time.
Okay, and just so you guys know, it's our policy that cell phone's only to be used for county business, not to be used.
I don't know where mine's at.
Well, if you don't know where yours is at, then maybe you shouldn't have one.
I've made that, yeah,
I mean, we're
He's
paying,
never wanted one.
I haven't used one in 15 years.
well, then maybe we can save some money there if you don't want one either. I don't even have any county one. I don't,
I mean,
That's
we-
right.
That was probably done deliberately.
well, can we look into that too?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't use mine either, so they're worthless.
I use mine for the Duo app when I need to work at home. It's secure.
That's what I use mine.
That's it.
All right, so can we have now a motion to approve the bills?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Would the director call the roll?
Ms. Calpesta,
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice,
Yes.
Ms. Barker,
Yes.
Mr. Harvey.
Yes.
The chair now will recognize a motion for Tom to do a study on our security and to provide it to us at our next meeting. The chair would entertain that motion.
So moved.
Moved by Joyce Kilpesta,
Second.
seconded by Sandra Barger. Is there any discussion? I think we've already had some. Hearing none, would the director call the roll?
Ms. Calpesta,
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice.
Yes.
Ms. Barger,
Yes.
Mr. Harvey.
Yes.
All right. Move on to the chairman's report. I have a couple things I want to go over. One, how was our free and fair elections now that the election's over? Are we hitting up the schools? Are we hitting up the social groups and everything else to?
I would have to say since the 13th or 17th, we haven't done much in the last 3 weeks. We've had half the staff, and sometimes at that. We reach out to a few more schools, there's a letter, but
I sent 20 requests and I've only heard back from one.
Okay, who'd you send it
Quite a few different civic groups, VFWs, so kind
to? Kiwanis,
of
Rotaries, like
Kiwanis. We do
every
have one
political
scheduled.
subdivision we have 16 political subdivisions in Mahoney County. And I believe most of them have their own Kiwanis, Rotary groups. And even if the, trustees, we could hit up all of the political subdivisions, and if they wanted to have us make a presentation in any of the political meetings, we could do that too. I mean, we got to do this, we had to get aggressive about it. Have we contacted the university's political science department, sociology departments to suggest that we, present our fair and free elections? What's the name of it, Melissa, again?
Safe and secure
Safe and
elections.
secure?
we do a presentation every year at YSU for the local science department. So we talk to Paul Sarasky every year, we go again this year.
Yeah.
And
But I'm
usually
thinking the
that's-
sociology department might be interested, the history department might be interested, the humanities might be interested, the business school might be interested. There's a lot of places. I just want us to be as aggressive as possible with educating the public about what goes into how their elections are run. I think it's very important.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I love the concept, but this staff has been very busy doing different things. Melissa, didn't you have an expense report you had to get done and a security?
Yeah, I would say this, it's not that we're not trying to pay attention to it, we do have other administrative things we have to do to ensure that we're ready for the next election, and because of the August election, things like we're gonna switch out the 850s for the 950s, we're gonna do software upgrades on the e-poll books, we have to finish our expense reports for all the grants that we had this year. We also have cross-training that you gave us a directive on that we have to get back to. So we do enjoy the outreach and we would like to continue to do the outreach, but we do have about 3 months of work on our plate that has to take a priority that we've been trying to squeeze in between elections and recounts and safe and secure elections.
And you know, I think people aren't concerned about it until it gets closer to election.
Well, then the problem when it gets closer to the election is we don't have the bandwidth to do it because we're busy getting ready for an election. We passed a motion earlier last year for the safe and secure elections. I just don't think we're reaching enough people in light of the fact that, you know, I had to write a letter for all of us to sign off on because 33% of people responding to a poll don't trust us, and we can't have that. And so we got to, as a board, make it our priority to get out there to the public and explain how elections work. And so, I don't mean to be a jerk, but it's simply a standard letter, and then someone just generate a list. All the Kiwanis clubs in Mahoning County, all the Rotary clubs in Mahoning County, all the card clubs, all the aquarium clubs, all the, schools. You could say, a standard letter can simply go out to every school in Mahoning County.
Would it be easier to produce this video that we could send to each, like on?
No, I think it's important that we're there to answer their questions.
And ask them to review the video and see if they want us to come and answer their questions.
I think that it is incumbent upon us to explain the electoral process, and I know it's a pain in the ass, and I know it requires extra work, but I think it's important that we do it.
We will have more presentations this year than we did last year for sure. But just a clarification, what's an aquarium club?
I'm just,
I was like, is that, I've never heard of this.
I was.
How about AV Club?
I was making tongue in cheek. There are a number of civic-minded organizations in Mahoning County that I think that this would be an interesting topic for them. That's all I'm saying.
We'll get there, David.
All right.
It's been a busy couple of months.
I understand. Also, in my report, I want us to adopt a policy for public comments. And so, it's my position that we, at every one of our meetings, except a special meeting or something like that the public be given an opportunity to speak, and that we limit how long they could speak. I mean, we've never really enforced it, but, I'd like to have a discussion on this and us to establish a policy.
I thought you adopted a 3-minute. when
I
first
thought
came
so
on board.
too.
I think so.
I thought it was
right?
Yeah, it is 3 minutes?
Yeah, you all adopted a 3-minute
Okay.
policy.
We're going to conference next week, and they're having board members' meetings. I'd like to ask other board members what they do about public comment, how they handle it, do they give them so many, and what can they speak on?
No, Joyce, let me stop you right there. You can't say things like what they're gonna talk about. If we have public comments, it's freedom of speech, and we're a public institution, we can't regulate what someone is saying. If someone wants to
Shouldn't it be
get-
about election issues, though?
No, if it's a public comment, they have a freedom of speech. They can get up there and say what they wanna say.
Santa Claus does not exist.
They could say that. We can't
That's
get into
fine. That's
regulating what someone can and cannot say as a public institution.
That's fine, but I would like to see what other boards do and how they
Okay.
handle it.
I will say, and when boards do it, especially if there's a big crowd, we'll try to limit to 3 to 5 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes.
Based on the crowd, and then typically, because usually a person comes in, they don't plan to talk.
Is it usually about certain issues in front of the
Usually
board?
it's, a candidate who wants to run or,
Okay.
got kicked off, or if they do come and ask me questions regarding, conspiracy theories about
Okay.
elections. So,
Okay, then.
I'm not into regulating anyone's speech. If someone wants
No,
to
that's
get up
fine, I
there
agree.
and talk about whatever they feel, we're a public entity. We have, obviously, the public's not too interested because we have one member of the public here, maybe 2 back
We
there.
gotta count back.
Okay.
They're here, very interested in
high
what's
school kids.
happening.
Okay, they have to be here. And
Our interest.
so my position would be that if there's not like overwhelming public here, and if we've adopted 3 minutes, have we amended that to just our regular, because there was a complaint, we had a special meeting on a recount. Should it just be for regular meetings or all meetings? Is a discussion I thought we should have. And what are the other board members?
Well, if we want the public to come, it should be all meetings.
Yeah, I think all meetings.
Okay,
You
so
know, and
all
I think
meetings,
it's always on our agenda.
yeah,
So. I think
okay.
we should
I
be
agree with,
fine.
I agree with that.
In 3 minutes, right?
In 3 minutes. Okay?
So you already have that policy, you just want a copy of it?
No, as long as we have that policy, I mean, we had a discussion about it, I just wanna make sure that we're all on the same page with that.
Did we just say that a candidate, somebody wants to run for office, can say something? Is it further
It's
about
a
their-
public comment. They can get up there and say, your elections are rigged, this is a bad place. I mean, it's a public comment. Can't regulate what someone's gonna
I
say.
understand that, but are we opening the door then, say somebody comes in and wants to run for an office, do we then have to give equal time to the
No, I mean,
comment?
it's a public comment. If they wanna come in and speak to 3 people, they can knock themselves out.
I understand.
I understand your point, but we don't have an FCC license. We're not given any license by the state to broadcast anything, so we don't have to give equal time. I mean,
But this is what we face when we contact these groups, no one wants to hear from us, no one wants to come to our meetings, and no one wants to hear from us.
I understand that. Doesn't mean we still can't swing at the ball.
Okay.
Aquarium clubs, Tom. Aquarium clubs.
Aquarium.
Did you write that down?
Oh, gosh, I'm ready here.
It's up there with Kingdom, David, we're gonna hold you to it.
All right, director's report.
I don't care. You, Melissa?
I was just gonna give an update that our security directive, in which we had 31 tasks to complete, we asked for an extension, we'll be finishing up with that on January 31st because we had to work with the county data as well as what we had to do here, also with the sheriff's department because it involved a lot of pieces. So we're almost done with that.
Tell us a little bit about that.
The security directive?
Yeah.
Yeah, please, Melissa.
Well, it's 31 different tasks, and there's a cyber security aspect to it, and there's a physical security aspect to it. So it involved ensuring that we have our cameras, our alarm system, partly the sheriff, the deputy that's out there,
Our special fire extinguishers.
our special fire extinguishers that we have to order, believe it or not, passwords, everything, new firewalls, I mean, it's really, really detailed. So.
And this was a director from the
Secretary of
Secretary
State's
of State.
office.
Okay.
Are you talking about the YubiKeys? That's the passwords that you're talking about? Or,
No, the actual passwords
Actual-
are changing, the
Oh,
timeframes
okay.
on, for the administrator accounts, the service accounts, and the
Oh.
vendor accounts, and the user accounts.
and they'll give you the passwords for those?
They changed the requirement 90 days, and they changed the requirement specifically to the type of password.
Oh, my goodness.
Which, I mean, sounds silly, but it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yeah, it's a lot of work just to keep up with the passwords.
Also, like
I hate
something,
passwords.
something as simple as we have to have a government banner on all of our websites, and so the government banner that we had to have created and put on all of our websites. Something that detailed, it was very, very
Government
detailed.
banner or Secretary of State banner, or government banner?
A banner that states that this is a government website.
Okay.
So we're
So the
working on
GOB,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. We do have a couple requests, I guess is what you could call it. Personal time. The last time you were here, you had voted to, Andy, they have it, right?
Yes,
They do.
Where is that?
dig in, it's in there.
Personal.
This one, looks like
That's per diem, that's per diem thing.
It looks like, it's just a personal time? Okay. We would like to ask you to consider two options. One would be to always allow our staff to have the 24 hours that's allotted to them in personal time, to have it rolled over every year, which you had done last month for them. You could do that, and then, of course, when they retire, you're not allowed them to cash any of it in. Or you could do that and allow them to cash in up to 5, which is 120 hours, 5 years, and not above 5 years. A lot of the other county agencies, they all have different policies. Some have 5 days of personal based on their contract. Some cash in their entirety of their personal based on their contract. We have 15 full-time employees. We would like them to be able to cash it out, and we would like it rolled over every year. The reason we ask that is they don't have the same opportunity as other county employees to utilize their time. Thankfully, this year you allowed them to roll it over and they had the opportunity to use it. Because had they had it for just this year, they wouldn't have been able to use it. Other county employees are able to cash theirs in, or they even receive more personal time and they utilize it. So whether they utilize it when they're working or they get to cash some out, it's sort of the same difference issue. Not only because we have such a small staff, but other county agencies are able to, or departments,
All
depending
right,
on
so
their
I
contract.
wanna understand something here. We're allowing them to take their 24 hours of personal time and they can cash out a total of 5 years' worth. Every 5 years?
No, when they retire only. No cash out during the life of their employment,
Okay. And the most they can accrue is 5 years?
which is 24 hours, which is 120 hours altogether.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a small amount, but it's like a way of thanking them for the fact that they can't take it many times. So for example, of course, other types of usage that we have, sick time, you don't get 100% of your sick time. You get 100% of your vacation time when you retire. And depending on the union contracts throughout the county or the department, everybody is doing it a little bit differently. So as a board, you have the opportunity to write a policy for your 15 employees. We wrote it up for you both ways, so you can look at it.
Where's the other one?
I have the other one, because I was hoping you'd do the first one.
Well,
This
that-
is the one with no cash out, and this is the one with a little bit of a cash out. Or you have the one with cash out,
We
right?
have the one with the cash out.
And this is with no cash out.
What do you mean, no cash out?
So if you just approve, because usually that 24 hours for our employees, it's like, well, if you don't use it within the calendar year, you lose it, which really was terrible for our employees because frequently they couldn't use it.
Well,
This year
especially
was-
with free
Mhm.
elections, yeah.
So say somebody rolls it over 2 years, then they can cash that out, though, they don't have to wait the 5 years, correct? Or not?
We
No, they
just have
can't
it
cash
as-
out until they retire, she said.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
I'm
personal
sorry.
time only, because we already have sick and vacation that
Okay,
passes on this,
all right.
for personal time only.
Okay.
And actually, you don't even have to adopt the policy this way, if you want them to be able to cash it out, that's up to the board. We were just giving you what we were hoping for.
Well, no, I think the 5 years is feasible, because Malarkey could be here 20 years,
Right, right.
you know, and
Right.
Or the other thing is to, if they don't use their 24 hours, is to just cash them out every year.
right.
That's the other option.
Yeah, we have no, there is no cash out, there's no rollover and no cash out on these days. You just lose them, use them or lose them, yep.
But for 2022, we let them roll them over for this year.
Well, this says they can have up to 5 years worth,
Correct.
which
At
is
retirement.
what we didn't do for Joyce.
Well, I would say this too, I thought.
What would be the harm in paying them if they don't use their personal days?
Because technically, if not, the reason we're asking for that is had they been able to utilize them, you would have paid them when they use them. But because of the way they work, they're frequently not able to use them.
Okay, and
So, yeah.
and so my point is someone like Chris, it would be very hard for him to use his 24 hours of his personal time a year, just
That's
because.
exactly right.
And so either we could allow him to accrue up to 5 years of personal time, or we can pay him every year whatever he doesn't use in personal time.
That's what I like that. I like that. At
If
least
we
they're,
don't use them, we cash them out.
don't use them, we cash them out, then we don't accrue a lot of,
Right.
you know.
I think something to consider with that is that's more work, rather than saying they can choose to cash it out
What do you
and
mean
wait
it's
for
more
5
work?
years.
But we have
Because
Andy.
we have to send the PARs down and ask for all that every year. So every year in December, when we're doing year end, we'd be looking at year end for personal.
You
and
just do
year
it
end
once
for-
and then you just copy them the next year's. I mean, it's no, that's no big deal. Is that a big deal?
It's a little common, not bad.
But she's so good.
I mean, I actually, like, for me personally, I like the 5 years, or if they wanna cash them out. I
Well,
mean, that way, if they don't wanna cash them out, it's just there, or they use them.
I like paying them for every year.
I kind of like that too, so they don't
Yeah,
accrue.
they don't-
I understand what you're saying, but like, say somebody like Gina Claudia might leave next year or the year after. So she'll never get to the 5 years, but if you cash her out every year, she's
She's got the money.
got the money,
Right.
right.
But I'm saying give them a choice.
Oh, well,
Like,
that,
oh, if you wanna cash it out this year, you can't.
No,
But
I
the
think that,
maximum
I don't
you
think
get
we
is
should
5
let
years.
them accrue it. If they don't use it within a year, we cash it out. Why are we letting someone accrue 120 hours of
Well,
personal
it takes
days?
5 years, and here's one reason. I would give an example. Our newer employees don't accrue the other kind of times quickly, so if you let them roll it over, that gives them an opportunity. So we had somebody that was very sick, If they were able to keep that personal time, it would have helped them when they were off
Right.
expensive.
Oh, I see what
So
you're
you're
saying.
kind of limiting their
Yeah.
options when you make them
Yeah,
cash
it
out,
helps
because you're
Susie.
just giving it back to them.
Right.
So if you give it to them as a choice, then you get either way.
Well, it's up to them to worry about their sick time and their vacation time.
Well, it
Go on
ultimately
off.
affects us,
Yeah,
and it
ultimately.
affects the work product we put out. So
Right.
we gotta have a policy that incentivizes the employees.
Why don't we give them a choice? They can either accrue it and roll it over, or they can cash it out at the end of the year. Can we do that? Can we write it that way?
You're allowed to write your policy however you want it.
Yeah, we're
And
an
once we
independent board.
adopt it, then that we tell the county that that's what we're doing.
So I would give the employee the option, maybe.
They could cash it out each year, or they could roll it
Or
over.
they
So
can
if they
roll
get
it.
to 120 personal hours, then if they're still here after 5 years or 6 years, they cash it
They
out,
cash
because they're
it
not
out,
gonna
right.
lose it.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Are we comfortable with that policy?
I think so.
Rob?
Bob's thinking, do we need to see it written for next time?
I think, yeah, I'd like to see it written the next time.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand it, because then we'll write it up.
We like the one with the option up to
Right.
the 120 personal hours upon retirement, but we also want the option to cash out at the end of the year.
And they roll over whatever they're not using.
Right, if
Yeah.
they don't cash out, then they roll it over.
Okay, Ann, you got all that, right? Because I said I'm writing it down, but really Andy's gonna type it as soon as we do so.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you like that option, Melissa? I mean, you think
I
that's a
think it's
fair?
wonderful, and I think the staff will be really
Okay,
thankful.
do you think that that's a fair option?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Well, I'm more worried about people that this place can't run if they're not here,
Right,
okay? And
like Chris.
like Chris, like Melissa, like Tom, okay? And like the other people that if they're not here, we got problems. So we want to incentivize those people to be here, I guess is what I'm saying. So we'll look at it and we'll decide it at our next meeting. Any other thing from the director's report? Melissa, anything else?
Well, so after the personal time, we wanted to talk to you about our travel policy.
This is something we adopt every year.
Yeah, we just updated one little thing that we wanted to point out for you and make sure you were okay with it.
Which is,
Where is the travel policy? Take a minute to read
There's
this.
2 papers in your packets with this.
so what did you
It's not
add
for
to
team.
it?
Well, I was getting to it, sorry. Okay. All we did, and Andy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or Tom, we just, on D, on the second page,
8B.
yeah, 8B, well, 2 things actually, and Andy, we're gonna have to update this. They just sent an email at 4 o'clock that the mileage is gonna be
Change, yeah.
60.655, and we have 62 cents. So we'll change the mileage. He just sent it at 4 o'clock.
They go by the IRS.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these rates for hotels, is this, if it's in Akron, this is how much they get? If it's in Columbus, that's how much they get?
Well, that was just an example, we'll tell you about that in a second, because we don't have to worry about that, because we do always get our reimbursement. We really wanted you to look at the second page.
Well,
which was the
why did
meal.
you, what,
We don't want to change this, because that way if somebody exceeds this, we as a board create our own travel policy, and no one can dispute that, so why would we go with per diems and things like that when we can have our own policy?
because the minute someone abuses it,
Well,
it's gonna splash.
Nobody has ever abused
Well,
it.
so far, but there's always the one,
But once you put constraints on it, then they won't pay you for a $10 meal, they won't pay you for a coffee,
well, we're giving them a per diem. I mean,
okay?
a breakfast is $14, lunch is
Have you been to
$60.
Columbus? You have been to Columbus many times.
You can get breakfast for $14.
If you eat in a snack bar. That's true.
Would
Oh,
you
I
want,
get it.
do you want the amount to be higher, like your cap to be higher?
I just think we set our own travel policy like we always have, and it's always been, we just pay, it's always been, we just pay for the board members to travel anytime during the year, and at what cost, that's how we've always done it.
Well, this is not just the board members, this is the employees also.
Well, the employees have never, we don't take them everywhere.
But I mean, this was for their meal reimbursements and how they fill out their form. You could change it anytime. You could
It's
put
fine,
it
I pay
however-
for my own anyway, so it doesn't matter to me, but
Okay, but we need to set a policy, Joyce.
Well, except for this policy, and that's what you want. I mean,
We're having a discussion about it, I mean.
So what we did is we gave you this was the standardized across all the different little, in Ohio. And you could change it every year, to your point, Joyce, you could change it every year, or you could cap it to what you want it to be, because you are the board, and you can say. We were just trying to standardize it a little bit,
well, the
because,
rooms in Columbus for this conference are $142.
well, the rooms, we only gave that to you to show you where we looked for the meal stuff. We didn't even, the rooms, we didn't even put a cap
Yeah,
on
but
at all.
there's two of them in a room, right?
No,
Everyone gets their own room?
Well, they're adults.
they
Okay.
take showers at different times, please, I can.
Yeah, no,
It's a whole different thing.
no band camping. But the meals, we just standardize that based on what they do and based on the areas. But you could cap it at what you want. What we were only trying to do is limit all that receipts and all that extra work. Like if you want to cap it at $80 or something, or $75,
So,
You know what I
I
mean?
went
You don't
through
have
this,
to have
I
this
went through this
verbiage in
before I
here.
retired, and the county wants to send you a check before you go for what you have asked for the room, for the meals, for everything. And you get that check, and is that what you're talking about doing? Well, you better check with the county on that one.
Well, we know that all we have to do is set our policy and then fill out that
Isn't
form
that what
and
they
send
told
it
us, Tom,
back.
that time? That's what they told us. They told us if we want to go with the policy, their policy, the county has a travel policy.
Right.
We're gonna go with the county travel policy. We have to put it in prior to the conference, and then we have to, they will send you a check. And that's your check for
Well,
the
this is still
conference.
your
Instead of us
policy.
putting in bills, instead of us putting in bills and receipts.
No, I agree with you, we would never want to do it that way. This is not that. All this is saying is what we're saying, that we would reimburse our own group. But if you don't want these numbers in here, you can take them out, that's no,
Well, I think you have to check with the numbers every year to see what the numbers, the rate has gone up. Like I said, the room in Columbus is not 122, it's 142. So, you know, you have
well,
to.
we're
not
not
talking
using
about
this.
rooms.
We just turned that in so you can see the
She's
website.
talking about food.
Yeah.
Do we want to have a policy about food? Is the policy is whatever they spend, we reimburse them? Or do we want to cap them at a certain amount?
And I'm saying, I think you should talk to the county and see what their policy is and what they are willing to do.
We,
No,
Because
we are an independent board, Joyce.
I know we
We
are,
can
David,
do
but I
whatever we
know-
want to do. And so if we want to set a policy of what they can spend a day on meals, now's the time to have that discussion.
so the
I know
county
you're
actually
independent,
has
David, I've known
different,
that for a long
they have a
time.
standardized policy, but then they have all the union contracts that trump some of it.
But I also know about purchasing department downtown, and I also know how they deal. And I'm telling you, you should set the policy, but you should just set an open policy that the board pays the expenses for travel. That's
Okay.
all we've ever
I
done, isn't it, Tom?
I don't like that, and let me tell you why I don't like that.
But that is this.
That
That's
is
still
this, but if she just added 8B, which normally that's not
I
there,
don't have
correct?
Well, it's usually there and it just says that the meals are not paid in full. Go ahead. Amy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, on the last one from last year,
I don't
under
have that.
number 8, letter B, it basically had the same thing, except it didn't have the meal breakdown, and it was $54 a day.
So this is
So
the
it
one.
did go up, probably because of inflation over the last year from the federal GSA standards.
Yeah, we didn't change, we just,
Just the amount.
So 8B would limit their daily food to $59. Is that my understanding? I think that's a reasonable expense.
and they don't have, the thing that we want you to know is
Joyce,
they don't
that's a
have to turn
$29
in.
dinner. There's a lot of places when you go, you're not gonna spend $29 on dinner. It's roughly $60 a day.
And if you read further, the reason we did this is they don't have to turn in their receipts. So if
They
they
just
have a
put for-
cheeseburger for $2, they still get that same lunch
And if
reimbursement.
the lunch is paid during the conference fee, you can't put money in for lunch, you know that,
We do know that.
okay?
All right, I want to understand what's going on here. I'm not in favor of just paying someone $60 a day. I'm saying you have a $60 a day allotment, I'd like to see receipts.
Yeah, I.
If you only spend $2 for breakfast, I'm not gonna give you $14, okay? Well,
Well, if you think of it this way, this kind of balances out. If their breakfast was cheaper than their dinner and their dinner was more expensive, when you give them a little bit of leeway, you're being a little more
I
fair.
appreciate that, but I still say that they're capped at $59. That doesn't mean they get $59. They still have to show us receipts of what they spent. We're just not gonna write someone a check for $59 and they go down and they get $10 worth of snacks and that's what they live off of and they make $49 off the taxpayers. I'm not for that. I'm for reimbursing them what they actually spend.
This is what I need to make clear with you, David. With the county, they will send a person a check. You understand, did you talk to them about this, Melissa, about how they do this? You tell them what your room costs, you tell them what we're allotted, and then they send you a check, and then there's no receipts involved. They send you a check prior to the conference.
You're talking about a different, I know what you're talking about, but that's not what we're doing. And
I-
if you wanna take out these, meal breakdown, no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm not in favor,
It's
let,
not-
wait a minute,
it-
wait a
that
minute,
has
hold on,
nothing to do with
let's
it.
just bring this back. I think we should have a policy that gives them that they have $59 a day.
Well, 60 is fine.
Okay, Joyce, if I'm speaking, I'd appreciate it if you not speak while I'm speaking,
Yes, sir.
okay?
I didn't know that.
Well, you've been doing it all meeting. If you wanna speak, I'll recognize you, and then you speak. I think we should have a policy that gives them per diem how much they can spend, but they have to give us receipts. I'm not for them ahead of time getting a check from the county. I am for reimbursing them what they spend. And we set a per diem day of what they can spend on food, and that they have to give us receipts. I think that's the responsible way to handle that, rather than just give them a check. Unless I'm looking at it wrong. Joyce?
I have nothing to say, Mr. Chairman.
That's the way we've always done it, though. We have to turn receipts in. 'Cause
Correct.
What you don't want is somebody spending $10 on a burger and $30 on beer, or whatever they're preferring to drink.
Well, it does say in B, it says reimbursement for the actual cost of meals, including gratuities and incidentals shall not exceed $64 a day. That's perfect.
I like
Because you
that.
gotta put you gotta give your receipts. I've had to since I've been here, and I'm fine with that. It's always more than $64 a day, so,
Right.
because you're in Columbus.
May I say something, Mr.
Go
Chairman?
ahead.
The reason they don't want receipts downtown, because it's an auditing issue for them. And that's why they always told us to follow the policy where they send us a check. I don't care one way or another if you want the receipts, but you have to send the receipts downtown to the auditors for them to go through. And that was the purpose, I think, of what Melissa was trying to say, to get away from the receipts so that we don't have the auditing issue with the auditor's office.
Is that
Is
what
that
you're
correct?
saying?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work here for Lorraine, and you have to hunt people down, and people show up a month later and say, I forgot to give you this receipt, and then she has to go back in and do it.
And then the
Rather
auditor
than
wants
give
that
them this
receipt.
little bit of leeway, we only have 15 employees, they're not really milking the system, and they only go twice a year. So to me, it was just a streamlining. And I
So
agree,
you-
we
so
would never
you're-
want to say the check ahead of time, we would never want to
Right.
do that. And also, you don't automatically get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's commensurate on what your schedule is. Like, if you're not supposed to be there till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then that would be lunch and dinner. You're not getting breakfast too, it's just based on, it's just like a way of being a little more streamlined and reasonable and save some work. I understand if you want receipts, it doesn't change anything, because we've been doing them. We've been doing them all along.
Unless we don't have to send the receipts downtown, that's when it gets messy, because they question every receipt. Why did this one spend this? Why did that one spend this? They question every receipt, and you know that.
They do, and a lot of times, let's face it, if we go to dinner in Columbus, then you gotta get the separate receipt for this and a separate receipt for that. When you cap the amount,
Right.
you're capping the amount regardless. And then it, just saved a little bit of work. I know other agencies and departments in this county do it, so I just thought we would try it.
What's the board's position on this?
I like the way it reads. If we just change the .655 for mileage, because the IRS
But
bumped
I
it
think
up for
you're on the old one.
2023.
You're looking at the old one, right?
Well, that's the one I was given
Andy,
here.
did you pass out the old one? I mean, did you just pass it down?
Should be the new one.
Okay, with the meal amounts, the allotments? Because I think you're
Shall
looking
not
at,
exceed $64 a day. Reimbursement for actual cost of meals.
Yeah, that's the new one.
And travel 62.5, right? Or is that changed?
well, this one says the total for a full day should not exceed $59.
I didn't see that one at all.
Eight B.
I am in B.
Mine says, I have a different AP than she has.
I think this is the old one that she was passing down so you guys can look at it.
No, this was in my thing. It wasn't in my folder. It was in my packet, in your little, my mini
In my
meeting
packet says $59,
Mine says 59.
and it says, The reimbursement of meals is designed to offset the costs associated with travel and the requirement to travel. Reimbursement is as follows. Breakfast, $14, lunch, $16, dinner, $29. The total full day should not exceed $59. Reimbursement will be determined by requirement of travel. Breakfast will not be allotted. No receipt for meals are required, as the conference, seminars, or training agenda will indicate required attendance times and will suffice in lieu of a receipt. So what we're basically doing is cutting down on the amount of paperwork that the staff has to send to get people reimbursed. And if lunch is included, then they don't get lunch that day. If breakfast is included, then they don't get breakfast that day. But they don't have to give us receipts. They have to say, I went to this conference, Melissa will look at it and say, well, lunch and breakfast was provided, you get $29 for dinner, because dinner wasn't included. Is that my understanding?
Yes. And our fiscal administrator will do that, because she does send ahead of time, what you were saying, Joyce, she has to send down the travel request ahead of time, but we don't get a check ahead of time because we have our own policy. And so the travel request says we're going here, that's how much the mileage is gonna be, this is how long we're gonna be, this is what time we have to be there.
She also pays the conference fee, correct?
And she pays the conference fee and everything all at once. So we still hold our ability to make our own policy, if you want it to be more money, if you don't wanna cap it, if you want it to be per receipt, but that was to cut down.
I like the idea of not having to pay or get a receipt. I like that idea, as long as one of the two, you was policing and making sure,
Our fiscal administrator will take care of it.
this way they don't need a receipt. What is $59 a day enough? What are you looking at?
I think so, yeah, I think so, Mr. Tom. I don't think we've ever spent more than that. I mean,
I thought we turned receipts in.
yeah, I know you don't.
Well, now we're
See,
saying,
that's sort of what I'm saying, like, some people don't even turn the receipts in, because you are running from place to place, you shove it in your purse, you can't find it, you find it 2 weeks later, and then they're coming to our fiscal person saying, can I get paid for this,
Well, see, that's what the auditor, when they were discussing it with us, they wanted to just send us the check prior to for the room and for the meals, and then whatever you spent with no receipts. I like our idea better, that
So
they turn in
control
their,
over it.
yes, because, they'll get a check and they might never eat all day, really, so.
And really, if you come back next year and you're like, all right, we did not like this, we wanna rewrite our policy, you have the opportunity to do that. You could do it anytime, actually, you're bored, you can change it. After this conference, if you see how it went and you say, okay, I don't like
all
it.
right, so my understanding is I'm gonna ask for a motion where we take up the 62 to 65, correct? .655? And that it be $59, they don't need receipts, but someone's gonna regulate whether or not the conference they're going to is providing a lot of, like the one we're going to in January, I think every day they give us breakfast and lunch, but not dinner.
Right.
Correct? All right, so is this the policy we wanna adopt? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt policy 8, A and B for mileage and food reimbursement. Is there a motion? There's a motion by Bob Arnett, is there a second? The motion's gonna die.
You want a second? I'll second.
Seconded by Sandra Barker. Is there any discussion on this?
Well, my only discussion as an accountant, I love receipts.
I agree.
And Mr. McCabe knows I love receipts, and he always loses receipts, so if that's the problem with it, then it's
Well, the
okay.
problem, what I hear Melissa saying is, it's a work product problem for Annie or who's ever doing it. If we just adopt a policy saying lunch and we give them the money, and that way they don't have to produce a receipt, it cuts down on the work time for our fiscal officers. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Okay.
All right, any other discussions?
I think it's just this, that Annie made this packet for you. Oh, you're still talking
We
about that.
have to make a motion on that.
There's a motion and a second. We had discussions. Will the director call the roll, please?
Ms. Calpesta?
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice?
Yes.
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Arch?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
You gonna say something?
What's
I was
this?
just gonna say, I have to retype that for everyone to sign, so that we can send
Oh,
it
yeah,
on to the
correct,
public
yeah.
monitoring. That's her.
Now, these things that are going to be retyped, can you email those to us?
I will be, you all would have to sign it today, so I could go do that right now.
Why can't we just sign this one, you just change the amount on the.
I can have you all initial
Yeah,
the
like,
change.
yeah,
Okay,
like-
that's
Yeah.
good.
then you won't have to retype, honey.
Okay,
And you can get it all signed.
okay.
Now, what's going on with this 2023 winter OAEO conference packet?
So Annie made everybody a packet, so you wouldn't be rifling around for papers. It has your tax exempt form in there for your hotel. It has the actual conference, your confirmation number, that's on the front page, because when we booked in blocks, you know, we had to put the numbers together, you have your own confirmation number. Annie did all of that work. After we drove Erin off and crazy to make sure we could get that Hilton. She, gave you
Do you have
the,
us rooms at the Hilton?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, everyone's at the home.
and then she also gave you the conference setup. She cleaned it up a little bit from what was sent. And she gave you your credit form, so that's your folder that you have ahead of time to take to the conference,
All right.
that Annie prepared for you.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. So there's a Wednesday session, from my understanding, a Thursday and a Friday
Yeah.
till noon, is that my understanding?
I had one last bit.
Go ahead.
So today's my 1-year anniversary with the board. I just wanted to say thank you. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity. I've enjoyed my year. I've enjoyed my partner. And I hope to do good work for you in the coming year as well.
And you had big shoes to fill, and I know that there's been, you know, a lot of heated moments between me and you, especially. But I think overall, you two did a wonderful job this year. And, you know, let's hope that our 2023 elections go smoothly, because then we gotta warm up for 2024, boy, can't wait for that.
Exciting. Thank you. Oh, and Annie got you guys new cards.
I see that.
To take us, so we could take these to conference. Do we have anyone to do good of the order?
All right, anything for the good of the order? Wait a minute, hold on. Is there anything else under new business or the travel policy?
Oh, right. Oh, executive session. We gave everybody a copy of what you can and cannot go into executive session for.
Where is that?
And actually, the prosecutor's office,
Go
is
ahead.
it last in the packet, Annie?
I believe it's
Yeah, it's
like
right
in
before the
in middle.
minutes. This is from last
The
meeting.
reasons we want to go into executive session, correct?
Yes, the reason, and that this way, anytime we go in, we should have one of these in our meeting so we can fill it out, file it for the record, and be on point. That was from the prosecutor's office, and we promised to.
Well, in my opinion, this should be on this desk every meeting, just in case we have to break out of executive session. So Annie, I would ask that you have this sheet on the table
Okay,
at every meeting, so,
Will do.
because we never know until a meeting arises whether we have to go into executive
Exactly.
session. So if this is at the table, it will solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna get to, is there anything else under new business, or are we all done with that now?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we have, good of the order of public comments?
I'm Kathy Gage from the League of Women Voters of Greater Youngstown, and a couple of meetings ago, you referred something to the prosecutor's office about votes that were disallowed because of signature matching problems. And my question is, if they look in, do they have an option to look into that, or if just?
Did we hear anything from
We
anyone?
haven't heard anything from.
They're looking at one, correct? Is that
No,
one
we,
of the prosecutor's?
no, I thought we sent all four,
Oh, we did?
because they said we either
Okay.
disenfranchised 4 voters, or we've got 4 voters committing fraud. One of the two has to be true.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I agree with you that we should follow up with that.
Yeah, my question is, do they look into it, and then if they do, they will give you the results, or not?
So
Do
did
they
we,
report back to you?
They were sent to the sheriff's office,
Okay,
so they're gonna follow up. I don't know.
Could we have
Sheriff's
someone
office.
call and
Yeah.
follow up?
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with.
I mean, you referred it, do you
Yeah,
get the
we referred it,
information back?
because from our own standpoint, we should want to know that, because we either disenfranchise poor voters,
Correct.
okay, or we got people cheating. Either way, it's not good,
Yeah, we haven't heard back from the sheriff's department.
so we should probably hear back from the sheriff's department. Okay, and follow up with it.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up and reminding us. All right, anything else for the good of the order, public comments? And these are two college students that are interning with us, is that what I'm
High
saying?
school.
High school,
Oh, yay.
and they're just,
They're observing.
They were doing their National Honor Society hours and kind of doing some filing and things like that, and I think they should probably sit in the meeting as well.
well, could we have your names?
Julia
Julia, you have a last name?
Little,
And where are you from?
Poland.
Poland. And,
Maya Scott,
and where are you from?
Poland.
Poland. So you're both NHS members. Well, congratulations, that's really something, you means you're really smart. All right, so we're gonna reschedule the date of the,
July 4th, because it's a Tuesday.
yeah,
That's the way it fell, so.
we'll reschedule it to when?
The following Tuesday?
Yeah, the 11th. So let's have a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to move the July 4th meeting to July 11th at 4 PM.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion made by Sandy Barger and a second by Bob Arnett. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the director to call the roll.
Ms. Gilpesta?
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice?
Yes.
Ms. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Arch?
Yeah.
The next regularly scheduled meeting for the Mahoney County Board of Elections is set for Tuesday, February 7th at 4 PM. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would the director call the roll?
Ms. Gilpesta?
Yes.
Attorney Beatrice?
Yes.
Ms. Barger? Mr. Arch?
Yeah.
Yes.